Welcome to today's explainer. Look, if you own a home, you already know maintenance is a massive investment. But man, when it comes to siding, those initial numbers, they can literally leave you breathless. So today, we're going to peel back the layers on the real costs of exterior renovations in Denver. We want to move you past that initial sticker shock and give you an empowered, totally comprehensive understanding of what's really going on. Okay, real quick, here's our agenda. We're going to cover the siding sticker shock, decode the Denver premium, figure out exactly where the money goes, dig into those scary hidden costs and surprises, and finally wrap up with the total wall system. Let's jump in. Starting with Section 1, the siding sticker shock. $25,000 to $45,000. Yeah, take a breath. That is the massive price tag you're looking at for a mid-range fiber cement replacement on a typical two-story Denver home in 2026. Now, sure, if you've got a smaller townhome, you might be looking closer to that $9,000 mark. But for the median single-family home, this $25 to $45,000 range instantly sets the high financial stakes of a project like this. So why is it so expensive? Well, it helps to look at the three distinct tiers of siding. You've got basic vinyl coming in between $18,000 and $28,000. It's budget conscious, sure, but it really lacks impact resistance. Then, right in the middle, mid-range fiber cement at $25,000 to $45,000. This offers fantastic defense against hail and fire. And at the top, premium engineered wood or steel maxes out at $40,000 to over $75,000. This breakdown makes it pretty clear why durable mid-range fiber cement has essentially become the absolute standard for Denver's intense environment. Moving right along to Section 2, decoding the Denver premium. Okay, so there are three core drivers that push these Denver premiums so high. First up, there's just a massive demand for specialized crews who actually know how to install these heavy technical materials. Second, the undeniable climate necessities of the region. We'll get to that in a second. And third, neighborhood logistics. I mean, if you live in dense areas like Washington Park or Cherry Creek, you already know the drill. You've got strict noise ordinances and literally zero street parking for a giant dumpster. Honestly, those logistical hurdles alone can slap an extra 5 to 10% onto your final invoice compared to a more spacious suburban build-out in, say, Centennial or Littleton. And then there's this number, 3.9%. That is Colorado's incredibly tight unemployment rate. Remember, skilled labor is the second largest component of your entire budget. Because this market is just so tight, experienced installers who can actually handle heavy materials like fiber cement can command really high wages. We're talking daily crew rates running anywhere from $1,200 to $2,000 just because of the expertise required.
But here's the absolute crucial point. Basic national standards, like vinyl, they just flat out fail under Denver's extreme climate. Between the high altitude, the intense UV exposure, those crazy dramatic freeze-thaw cycles we get, and the frequent hailstorms, basic vinyl just isn't a viable long-term option. So that 40 to 60% markup you see for fiber cement, it's really not just a contractor upsell. It's a non-negotiable climate reality if you actually want to protect your home.
Which brings us to Section 3, where the money goes. Let's actually break down that invoice. Look at where the bulk of your money is going. A massive 80% of your budget is purely eaten up by materials, which sits at 45%, and skilled labor at 35%. The remaining 20%? That covers things like the removal and disposal of your old siding, extra supplies like fasteners and sealants, city permits, and of course, your contractor's overhead. To put all these abstract percentages into perspective, let's look at three specific 2026 Denver projects. First, a 1,600 square foot wash park bungalow. That one hit $36,800, mostly because the crew discovered moderate rot around two windows, which meant $3,200 in structural repairs. Next, a Highlands Ranch two-story came in at $51,500. Why? The homeowner upgraded to premium engineered wood for hail resistance, plus they replaced all the gutters. Finally, a Stapleton modern home cost $44,200, mostly due to the sheer complexity of integrating some failing stucco sections with sleek metal accent siding. So, same city, but very different final tabs, depending on materials and project complexity. Now for the scary part. Section 4, hidden costs and surprises. These are the massive structural and compliance surprises that can completely derail a carefully planned budget. Substrate and framing repair, replacing water-damaged sheathing or wall studs, that can easily add anywhere from $2,000 to $8,000. Oh, and if your home was built before 1978, using EPA-certified lead-safe work practices for the removal process can slap on up to $7,000. And what about hidden water damage hiding behind your gutters? Replacing the fascia and soffits is going to add another $6,500. It adds up fast. Okay, I know that sounds terrifying. But before the panic sets in about all these hidden gremlins, we have to ask, what actually stops a siding project from running wildly over budget?
Well, first, you absolutely must insist on thorough initial inspections. Though keep in mind, some damage is literally impossible to see until demolition starts. Second, and this is a really big one, the National Association of Home Builders strictly recommends keeping a 10 to 15% contingency fund. Set that money aside specifically to absorb these hidden discoveries so they don't halt your project. Third, avoid scope creep. Do not fall into the, while you're at it trap, adding new windows or exterior lighting just because the crew is already there. And finally, finalize your material choices early. You really want to avoid those massive restocking fees and project delays.
And that brings us to our final topic, Section 5, the total wall system. We really need to talk about the weather resistive barrier, or WRB. This is a totally critical, invisible component that wraps your house right beneath the siding. Upgrading from a basic standard house wrap to a fluid-applied or self-adhered membrane gives you vastly superior air and water control. Now sure, it might cost $1,500 to $3,000 more up front, but guys, this is the absolute key to preventing trapped moisture, unseen rot, and literally tens of thousands of dollars in future structural damage. So when you're out there comparing bids, just remember, the lowest price is almost always cutting corners on those invisible layers we just talked about. You have to ensure your contractor provides a comprehensively detailed quote. It should explicitly list the specific siding brands, the exact material versus labor breakdown, the type of WRB they're using, detailed flashing plans around the windows and roof lines, who is responsible for pulling city permits, and crystal clear warranty descriptions. Having all of this in writing proves they aren't skimping on the critical, unseen elements just to win your bid with an artificially low number. Which leaves us with a final, pretty serious question. If cheaper bids cut corners on hidden layers like house wrap and flashing, what is the true cost of a failing exterior envelope down the road? The absolute biggest mistake you can make is focusing only on the cost per square foot of the visible panels rather than the complete wall assembly. Installing a high-quality structural system is literally the only way to truly protect your massive investment and secure the long-term value of your home. Thanks so much for joining me on today's Explainer, and I really hope you leave this feeling a whole lot more prepared for your renovation journey.